All right, so we're continuing with our the AM show, and next up we're having the conversation about EOCO and what EOCO is doing to try to stop all those people who we call them loan scammers. They're out there and they're trying to come for your money.
Yeah.
And EOCO says they're not going to allow that to happen. So thank you very much, EOCO, for wanting to do that. But it started with a text message. I'm sure you got the text message too.
Yeah, so there's a text message going around to salaried workers about getting a loan. And the thing is that we're in times where people do need, extra money and extra income.
Yeah.
So if you have people reaching out to you with a modicum of credibility, then you feel like, okay, maybe this is something I should do. However, the interesting thing when you see some of these messages or you follow through with some of these things is when somebody who is offering you help, offering you a loan, offering you a scholarship, or offering you something asks you for money. I mean, that should be the point at which you're like, no, I'll pay for the registration, I'll pay for the forms, I'll pay for the that. Like, I don't have money. I'm trying to get a loan. How will I? You know what I mean? But anyway, so EOCO then, responded to this and then sent a message, and said that, don't engage with these people. Don't talk to them. They're not credible. And it's a scam. And it's interesting that EOCO was able to get on the beat with that, which also tells you how widespread the issue is.
It is.
Yes.
And so EOCO has gotten involved, and we have some officers from EOCO who are joining us to tell us there's more to this story. DSO Thomas Wotojo is an EOCO officer. Also, he's also joined by DSO Bertha Obenyama. Thank you both for deciding to make yourselves available for this conversation. So I want to start with you, Bertha. How did this whole thing start, or at what point did EOCO come in?
Israel, and then good morning to your viewers.
Good morning.
So, in recent times, EOCO has received a number of complaints from government workers who are falling victims to various loan scams. So, based on the complaints, analysis have been made, and we realize that the scammers are targeting workers on government payroll, that is, those who receive their salaries from the Controller and Accountants General Department. So that's how EOCO got to know about the things going on.
So you've had people who have come to complain to you?
Yes, and a lot of people.
Oh, when you say a lot of people, how many do you mean? Give us an idea.
More than 100.
Wow.
Because the complaints come from around the country, from various regions, various districts. And after analysis, we realized it has to do with the personal details and then government workers who have their funds locked up at Controller and Accountant General's Department.
Wow.
All right, so that's an interesting bit too that I got to know about. I want you to come in, DSO Thomas Wotojo. How do they go about this thing when it comes to people whose salaries are locked up at the Controller and Accountant General's Department?
All right, thank you, Israel. Yes, the office has received a number of complaints, as my colleague has said. Having analyzed this complaint, it became clear that these scammers are targeting workers on government payroll. Now, we've identified two modes of operation of these scammers. These are what we call the lock-up funds scam and the personal details scam. So with the lock-up funds scam, the scammers are targeting workers who have some monies locked up with the Controller and Accountant General's Department. So for instance, a newly employed government worker may have his or her salary delayed for some months. And when Controller starts paying his salary, all the arrests are not paid at once. So this money becomes the lockup money, which sometimes the worker have to follow up on in order to have it paid. This is where the scammers take interest. They are able to get a list of workers who are in this particular situation. Once a scammer gets the name
I want to find out how are they able to get to know
exactly
this list of people whose funds have been locked up?
Yeah, we are still investigating. We are still investigating that. So at the appropriate time, the full details will come out. As of now, we are looking into that aspect as well.
Oh, all right.
What kind of details are they able to access? Apart from the fact that these people may be on the list, are they able to access their contact details, phone numbers, addresses? How do they actually even just get in touch with these people?
Exactly. So they get access to the names of the staff and then his contacts. So once they get this contact, they place a call to the government worker, introducing themselves as a worker of controller.
So hold on. So these people they just don't send text message. They call actually.
So I'm actually looking at one of the modes of operations of the scammers, which is the lockup funds scam.
All right.
There are other modes which we'll dive into later.
All right. So yeah, let's continue with the locked up funds scam.
All right. So, like I was saying, once the scammer gets the list of a government worker, the name and contact of a government worker, he places a call to the government worker, introducing himself as a staff of controller. He then informs the government worker or the would-be victim that he can help him retrieve his lockup funds as controller. He then informs the victim of how much he will charge for that facilitation service.
Which is usually how much?
Well, it depends. Normally, it is pegged at a percentage to the lockup funds. So it may be 30%.
So which means that DSO what's a job? Which means that the scammers also have access to how much you are owed by the Controller General.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly. Right.
Hmm.
So they are able to convince the government worker to believe that the easiest way to retrieve the lockup funds is for the government worker to acquire a loan so that the lockup funds will be used to offset that particular loan. Once the government worker is convinced, he proceeds to acquire this loan. The scammer then demands for his fees.
Sorry, again, acquire this loan from where?
From any financial institution.
Right, okay.
Yes. So once the government worker acquires the loan, the scammer demands for his fees, threatening to stop the process of facilitating the retrieval of the lockup funds if he is not paid. Right. So normally, out of fear, the government worker would yield to his threats and then pay the money in the hope that he will get his lockup funds. Unfortunately for the worker, once he pays that money, the scammer vanishes and the worker is left with a loan on his pay slip to pay. So this is how the lockup funds scam largely works.